The human outpost sat alone at the edge of the Veyron sector, a small cluster of stars where no alien maps went, where no ships traveled regularly. It was meant to be a research station, a quiet place for scientists and explorers to study strange energy patterns and anomalies far from the crowded heart of human space. Most humans had left the station long ago, seeking safer and more prosperous locations. Only a handful remained: engineers, scientists, and a small security crew who knew that isolation was part of the job. At first, the day began like any other. The pale blue sun rose over a barren planet below, casting long shadows across the outpost's metal structures. Engineers checked the power systems, scientists monitored the sensors, and security officers patrolled the perimeter. The air was calm, almost peaceful, as if the universe itself had forgotten this small outpost existed. Then, the sensors detected something strange. At first, it was subtle, a small fluctuation in the energy readings, barely noticeable among the usual cosmic noise. But within minutes, it grew stronger, more erratic, until the monitors were flashing red. An enormous energy storm was forming, a swirling mass of light and radiation that moved faster than anything the humans had ever recorded. It wasn't natural. Nothing in the known sectors behaved like this. The storm grew, twisting and stretching across space, heading straight toward the outpost. "Commander, it's moving faster than predicted," said Lieutenant Mara, her voice tight as she studied the holographic projection. "It will reach the station in under 2 hours if we don't act." Commander Jensen didn't speak immediately. He leaned over the display, his face grim. Years of training and experience had taught him that panic helped no one, but even he felt a flicker of unease. "We can't outrun it," he said finally. "We don't have that kind of power, and the shields are only rated for minor energy surges. If this hits at full force, the station could be destroyed in minutes." The team gathered in the control room, faces pale but resolute. There was no time to call for help. The outpost's long-range transmitters had been damaged in a recent solar flare. But there was one option: a distress signal. It was a desperate measure, a beacon sent into the deep reaches of space, hoping that someone, anyone, would respond. Engineer Lopez took the controls, fingers flying over the console. The distress signal wasn't simple. It required rerouting power from every non-essential system to boost the transmission across vast distances. Every decision was critical. One wrong move and the outpost's remaining defenses would fail before help could arrive. "Signal is ready," Lopez said, his voice steady despite the tension. "We're sending it now." The message was simple, yet precise. The outpost was in danger. The energy storm was unlike anything they had encountered, and immediate assistance was required. It was not just a call for help. It was a record of the outpost's coordinates, its current state, and the potential risk to life and research. It was humanity's voice reaching out into a galaxy that often ignored the small and the weak. They sent the signal, and then they waited. Minutes passed like hours. The storm outside grew larger, casting eerie lights across the walls of the station. The energy from the storm made the air hum and vibrate. Lights flickered. Consoles beeped with warnings. The humans worked quickly, securing vital systems and preparing for impact, though the reality of the situation weighed heavily on them. Somewhere in the vast emptiness of space, the signal traveled, invisible and silent, reaching planets, stations, and fleets that had never heard of this small outpost. Many civilizations ignored it. Most assumed it was a trap, a common tactic in interstellar conflict. Messages like this often led to ambushes or political games, but one species, ancient and cautious, monitored signals more closely than others. They were a civilization known for observation, intelligence, and patience. They noticed the human message and paused. The humans at the outpost had no idea that their signal contained something unique, something they could not have known. The pattern of the energy, the way the message was encoded, and the small but significant choices in wording revealed something remarkable: resilience, adaptability, and a kind of rapid problem-solving that no other species displayed naturally. It was subtle, almost invisible to the untrained eye, but the observers noticed. Meanwhile, at the outpost, the storm reached its closest point. Tremors ran through the station. Panels popped loose from walls. Windows groaned under the pressure. Outside, the swirling energy seemed almost alive, reacting to the station's presence, probing for weaknesses. Commander Jensen watched the projection, jaw tight, and then gave the orders. Shields at maximum, all non-essential personnel to safe zones. Maintain communications on all channels. If anyone is out there, they'll respond soon. The crew worked tirelessly, rerouting power to the shields and reinforcing vulnerable areas. It was a tense, exhausting effort. Sweat beaded on foreheads. Fingers trembled over controls. Every person in the room felt the weight of the moment, knowing that survival depended on timing, strategy, and maybe a little luck. Then, almost impossibly, something changed. The storm's chaotic motion seemed to slow, as if it were being countered by an invisible force. The monitors displayed readings that didn't make sense: energies being dispersed, radiation levels dropping. The humans exchanged glances, uncertain but hopeful. Outside the outpost, distant silhouettes appeared in the void of space. Ships, unlike anything the human crew had ever seen, emerged from the darkness. They were sleek, faster than anything in human design, and capable of withstanding immense forces. But what shocked the humans most was not the technology, it was the presence, the aura of confidence and control that radiated from the vessels. The alien ships approached cautiously, scanning, analyzing, but not attacking. Commander Jensen realized that these were not invaders. These were advanced observers. Perhaps, he thought, they were responding to the distress signal after all. The aliens studied the storm, then made subtle adjustments. They deployed devices that bent gravitational fields and redirected the energy. The storm began to break apart, smaller and smaller, until it finally dissipated entirely. The outpost survived, intact though shaken. The humans stepped out of the control room, faces pale but full of awe. For the first time, they realized that help had arrived, but it was nothing like they had expected. They weren't just saved by alien power, they were saved by something that recognized and respected human ingenuity. One of the alien ships opened a communication channel. The voice that emerged was calm, precise, and resonant, unlike any human or machine sound. "Your species is remarkable," the alien said. "You survived what many would have perished to. We have observed your pattern and your response. It is unique." Commander Jensen felt a chill run down his spine. The aliens didn't just save them, they were analyzing them, studying them. Yet there was no threat in the tone, only curiosity, tempered by caution and respect. The rest of the day passed with introductions, explanations, and cautious observations. The aliens learned about the humans' resourcefulness, their creativity under pressure, and their ability to make rapid decisions in life-threatening circumstances. In turn, the humans began to understand that the galaxy was far larger and stranger than they had imagined. They had always known they were small, but now they saw how even a small outpost, sending a simple signal, could capture the attention of the most advanced civilizations. As night fell over the outpost, the human crew gathered on the observation deck. The stars above twinkled like diamonds scattered across a black canvas. The storm was gone. The alien ships hovered nearby, quiet, analyzing, waiting. Yet for the first time in weeks, the humans felt hope. They had sent a call for help into the void, and the galaxy had answered, not with judgment, not with hostility, but with recognition. Somewhere, far beyond known space, the galaxy began to whisper about humanity. It spoke of their courage, their adaptability, and their unpredictable brilliance. The outpost, once forgotten and isolated, had become the first point of contact for something far greater. The small crew had survived the impossible, and in doing so, they had proven something remarkable. Humanity was a species that could rise, even in the face of cosmic storms, and leave the universe wondering what else they might achieve. Little did they know that this was only the beginning. Their signal, their courage, and their survival would ripple across the stars, attracting attention from allies and threats alike. What had arrived to save them was extraordinary, but it had also set the stage for a challenge the galaxy had never faced before. Humanity's reputation as survivors, as thinkers, and as fearless beings had just begun. Commander Jensen looked out at the stars, feeling a mixture of pride and trepidation. He knew that humans had just stepped into a larger universe, one filled with mysteries, dangers, and opportunities beyond their imagination. He whispered to himself almost as a vow, "We will not just survive, we will rise." And with that, the human outpost, small and lonely on the edge of the Veyron sector, stood as the first sign that humanity was no longer just a minor presence in the galaxy. They were beginning to be noticed, and the galaxy was about to change forever. The galaxy was not slow to react. News of the human outpost's survival spread faster than any human or alien technology had predicted. Star systems whispered of a species that had faced an enormous energy storm, something that would have destroyed even the most advanced fleets, and survived with ingenuity and courage alone. Scholars, leaders, and military strategists across multiple civilizations were intrigued. Curiosity grew, but so did caution. Many wondered if humanity's response had been a fluke, a lucky accident. Others felt an unfamiliar unease. If humans could survive the impossible, what else were they capable of? At the outpost, life slowly returned to a tense normalcy. Commander Jensen and his crew were exhausted, yet exhilarated. They had faced what seemed impossible and emerged alive. The alien visitors remained in orbit, silent observers, occasionally sharing data and insights with the humans. They had helped disperse the storm, yes, but more than that, they had watched how humans reacted under pressure, how they made choices, adapted strategies, and solved problems that no algorithm or protocol could have predicted. "It's not just that we survived," Lieutenant Mara said one evening as she stared out at the alien ships hovering silently above. "It's the way they're watching us. They're learning from us." Commander Jensen nodded, leaning against the railing. "And they're not the only ones. Others will see what happened here. The galaxy is starting to notice humans in a way it never has before." The next weeks were filled with messages from other species. Some were simple inquiries, cautious greetings from curious scientists or explorers. Others were more formal military fleets approaching the outpost under strict observation protocols. Humanity had never experienced anything like it. Every visitor, every message, was an opportunity and a test. How humans responded would define their place in the galaxy. One of the first significant arrivals was a diplomatic ship from the Zenari cluster, a civilization known for their analytical minds and strict societal order. The Zenari were tall and slender, with translucent skin that revealed the pulsing patterns of their internal energy circuits. They communicated through harmonic frequencies that could be translated into human speech using advanced technology. "Your species demonstrates qualities unusual for a young civilization," the Zenari ambassador said, his voice calm and precise. "You have survived conditions that would destroy even our most advanced units. It is remarkable." Jensen felt a mixture of pride and unease. Praise was welcome, but the weight of expectations was heavy. "We did what we had to do," he said. "We survived and we protected our people. That's all any species can do when faced with the unknown." The ambassador tilted his head, as if considering Jensen's words. "What you call survival, we call adaptation. It is rare to see a species respond so effectively to an entirely unpredictable phenomenon. The galaxy will take notice. Your presence may soon alter existing balances. The crew realized the truth in his words. Humanity's response had done more than save an outpost. It had changed how the galaxy perceived humans. They were no longer a minor civilization on the periphery. They were a species capable of facing extreme danger and emerging stronger. Meanwhile, the outpost began receiving requests for assistance. Other civilizations, intrigued by humans' ability to respond creatively under pressure, asked for advice, guidance, or even collaboration in research and exploration. Humans had never operated on such a scale before. They were small, inexperienced, and often underestimated, but that perception was shifting. Human scientists studied the energy storm that had threatened the outpost. They discovered that it wasn't entirely natural. Something about the storm's structure suggested it had been artificially influenced, perhaps a remnant of an ancient civilization's weapon system or a defensive mechanism designed to eliminate emerging life forms. The implications were staggering. Humanity had survived not just nature's unpredictability, but a threat designed to challenge and destroy intelligent life. The storm wasn't just a random event, Lopez said one evening, pointing to the data on the holoscreen. It was designed to test, maybe even kill. And we actually made it through. Not by following a manual, not by brute force, but by thinking, adapting, and making decisions as we went. That's something no other species has done, at least not in recent history. Jensen considered the statement carefully. It means we're stronger than we thought, more capable than anyone expected, but it also means we've drawn attention we might not be ready for. Indeed, the attention came quickly. Fleets from several neighboring systems began monitoring human space more closely. Some were friendly, sending scientific teams and trade delegations. Others were cautious, observing quietly, wary of what humans might do if pushed or threatened. And in the midst of this, humans received messages from ancient networks, remnants of civilizations long gone. These networks contained information about species that had disappeared from the galaxy entirely, wiped out by threats that no one could stop. The humans realized that their survival had not gone unnoticed by every entity capable of observing. Their signal had been a beacon, a ripple in the fabric of space that reached further than they could have imagined. And with that realization came a growing sense of responsibility. Humanity was no longer just another species. They were emerging as a force the galaxy could not ignore. Jensen called a meeting with his senior crew. "We're standing at the edge of something much bigger than any of us imagined," he said. "The storm taught us something vital. Humans adapt. Humans survive. And now the galaxy is learning that too. Our next steps matter more than ever. We need to be careful, yes, but we also need to be ready." Mara nodded, her eyes reflecting the bright stars beyond the station. "We've survived one of the deadliest storms in this sector. Whatever comes next, we'll face it as we did before, together with clear heads and determination." The alien visitors, silent but present, observed the humans' discussions. They noted the unity, the courage, and the willingness to take responsibility for actions and decisions. These traits were unusual in the galaxy, where many species relied heavily on hierarchy, rigid protocol, or sheer power. Humans were different. They were unpredictable, creative, and capable of improvisation under extreme conditions. And that unpredictability, the aliens realized, was both a strength and a potential source of fear for other civilizations. As weeks passed, the humans began making small alliances. They shared knowledge with civilizations willing to collaborate, offering insight into survival tactics, energy manipulation, and problem-solving strategies that had saved the outpost. In return, they learned about the wider galaxy, technologies far beyond human capability, histories of long-lost species, and the complex web of politics and trade that span light years. One evening, Jensen stood on the observation deck, watching the alien ships hover silently. He thought about the storm, about how close they had come to losing everything. And yet, here they were, alive, stronger, and more visible to the galaxy than ever before. He realized that humanity's role was changing. They were no longer observers or peripheral participants. They were becoming central players, a species that could not be ignored, a species that could rise to challenges that would terrify others. And then, without warning, a new transmission arrived. It was unlike anything the humans had received before, old, fragmented, and almost impossible to decode. Yet the content was chilling, warnings of a force that had existed long before the rise of most civilizations, a power that had consumed entire systems and left nothing behind. The distress signal the humans had sent, it seemed, had done more than attract help. It had also drawn attention from something far older, far more dangerous. The humans didn't panic. Panic was not their nature. Instead, they prepared. They studied the transmission, deciphered as much as possible, and devised strategies to understand what might come. Every lesson from the storm, every moment of improvisation, and every ounce of courage became valuable now. Jensen gathered his crew once more. We survived a storm that no one thought we could. We faced danger, adapted, and overcame. What comes next may be bigger, stranger, and more dangerous than anything we've seen. But we're human. We survive. We adapt. And we will face whatever comes with the same determination we've shown before. The crew nodded, united, ready for whatever awaited them. They were humans, yes, small in the scale of the galaxy, but fierce, resourceful, and fearless in ways that even the most advanced civilizations had begun to notice. And far beyond the reaches of known space, entities older than time itself stirred, sensing the humans' presence, sensing a species that had survived what others could not. The galaxy had learned that humanity was a force unlike any other. The storm was only the beginning, and the events that followed would reveal the full potential of a species that could rise, adapt, and inspire awe across the stars. For the humans at the outpost, the lesson was clear. They had survived, yes, but survival was only the first step. They were becoming a species that the galaxy would remember, a species whose courage, creativity, and adaptability would challenge every expectation, alter every plan, and terrify some while inspiring others. The humans had sent a signal, and what arrived in response had changed everything. They were no longer just survivors. They were the beginning of something greater, a species that could face the unimaginable and emerge stronger, a species that would define a new chapter in galactic history. And as night fell over the outpost once more, with alien ships silently observing from orbit and distant stars gleaming like watchful eyes, humanity stood ready. Whatever came next, they would meet it not with fear, but with courage, ingenuity, and the unshakable determination that had carried them this far. The galaxy was watching, and humanity had already begun to astonish it. The calm after the storm did not last long. Humanity's survival, their ingenuity, and their courage had drawn attention across the galaxy, both wanted and unwanted. For weeks, the humans at the outpost monitored communications, fleets, and distant stars. The alien civilizations they had met were curious, cautious, and in some cases impressed. But deep in the darkness beyond known space, something far older had awakened. The ancient force was immense, incomprehensible, and terrifying. It had existed long before any current civilization had formed, drifting silently through the void. It had consumed entire star systems without warning, leaving nothing behind but silence and cold ashes. The human's distress signal, meant to reach other life forms, had acted as a beacon. It carried more than coordinates and a plea for help. It carried the signal of life, intelligence, and defiance. That signal reached the ancient entity, drawing it from slumber. The first signs were subtle. Sensors detected distortions in space that did not match any known phenomenon. Energy readings fluctuated in ways the most advanced technology could barely measure. The alien observers were the first to realize the danger. Fleets were assembled, defensive grids activated, and warnings sent across multiple systems. Yet, even with all their power, the advanced civilizations felt the chill of fear. Nothing alive in their experience had faced this force and survived. At the human outpost, Commander Jensen studied the readings alongside his team. "We're not just dealing with storms or hostile fleets," he said, pointing to the data. This is something else, something older than anything we've ever encountered." Lieutenant Mara leaned over the holoscreen, eyes wide. "It's enormous. Whatever it is, it doesn't just travel through space. It moves through it almost like it's part of space itself. Our shields, our ships, nothing we have will stop it if it comes directly at us." Jensen took a deep breath. He had faced danger before, but this was different. The storm had tested their adaptability. This was a test of survival on a galactic scale. Yet he did not falter. Humanity had proven once before that even against impossible odds, they could survive. "We prepare, we observe, and we adapt," he said firmly. "We will face it like we have faced everything else." The alien ships that had assisted in the previous storm now hovered around the outpost, their crews silent but tense. The humans and aliens exchanged information, strategized, and analyzed every detail of the approaching threat. It became clear that conventional weapons were useless. Fleets of the galaxy's strongest civilizations could not harm the entity directly. It was a living force of unimaginable scale and power, immune to standard attacks, and capable of consuming matter and energy with terrifying efficiency. The humans realized that their survival depended not on raw firepower but on strategy, ingenuity, and adaptability. The lessons of the storm became the blueprint for this greater challenge. They studied the entity's patterns, its behavior, and its movements. They tested theories, ran simulations, and prepared contingency plans that relied on thinking and improvisation rather than sheer strength. And then, it arrived. From the darkness of space, a presence like a shadow that could stretch across light years entered the galaxy. Stars flickered under its influence, and sensors went wild. Entire fleets trembled as they observed it. The entity was vast beyond comprehension, an incomprehensible force that dwarfed every known civilization. Its presence alone caused panic and awe, a reminder of how small and fragile life truly was. Yet the humans did not panic. They acted. Commander Jensen assembled a task force of ships, humans and aliens together, to approach and study the entity up close. Their goal was not to attack, it was to understand. The humans used their adaptability to devise maneuvers that no alien fleet had considered, altering gravitational fields, exploiting energy fluctuations, and using unexpected strategies to observe without being consumed. Lieutenant Mara's hands moved swiftly over the controls as the human fleet executed daring maneuvers. "It's reacting to us, but it's not attacking," she reported. "It's like it's testing our response, probing for weaknesses." Jensen nodded. "Then we give it no weaknesses. We show it that humans are not to be underestimated." The entity shifted, a wave of energy rolling through space, testing the fleet. Entire fleets of alien civilizations were caught off guard, their advanced weapons ineffective. Humans, however, responded differently. They improvised, coordinated in real time, and adapted their strategies with creativity and boldness. Every move, every adjustment, and every choice surprised both the entity and the aliens watching. For hours, the encounter continued. Fleets that had once been confident in their power now watched in awe as the humans led daring maneuvers that disrupted the entity's energy flows, not through brute force, but through unpredictability and strategic improvisation. The entity responded, testing, probing, and occasionally striking, But the humans' adaptability kept them ahead, turning a hopeless situation into a stalemate. The galaxy watched in disbelief. Reports spread that humans, a seemingly minor species, were holding their ground against a force that had destroyed civilizations older than most could remember. Scholars debated, leaders panicked, and militaries reconsidered everything they knew about power and survival. Humanity's actions were a revelation. Survival was not just about weapons, fleets, or numbers. It was about thinking, adapting, and facing fear with courage. At the outpost, the team worked tirelessly. Scientists monitored the entity's patterns, engineers adjusted their ship's defenses, and the crew coordinated efforts to protect both human and alien allies. Commander Jensen's calm and decisive leadership inspired everyone. He reminded them that fear was natural, but action and adaptation were what defined them as humans. And then, something extraordinary happened. The entity, vast and ancient, began to shift its behavior. It stopped the probing attacks, slowed its movements, and for the first time seemed to observe the humans as more than prey. It had recognized something unexpected. The humans' courage, ingenuity, and adaptability were not just survival traits, they were a challenge. The entity had encountered many species over eons, but none had responded in such an unpredictable and intelligent manner. Humanity's actions forced the entity to retreat, not permanently, but strategically. It moved back, giving the galaxy breathing space, yet leaving an unmistakable warning. Humans were not ordinary. They were a species that could confront the unimaginable and emerge stronger. Their survival was not just luck, it was proof of something greater. The aftermath was profound. The alien civilizations that had doubted humans' significance now regarded them with a mixture of awe and caution. Trade, communication, and alliances shifted as species reconsidered how to approach this rising force. Humans had proven themselves not through destruction or conquest, but through courage, creativity, and the ability to face impossible odds without fear. Commander Jensen addressed his crew after the encounter, his voice steady despite the exhaustion etched on their faces. "We survived storms that no one thought we could. We faced a force older than most civilizations and held our ground. Humanity has always adapted, and today we proved that our adaptability is our greatest strength. We are not just survivors, we are a species that can rise, inspire, and even terrify in ways that others cannot predict." The crew cheered quietly, the weight of their achievement sinking in. They had faced the unimaginable and lived. They had faced an ancient entity, one that could erase entire civilizations, and they had turned the encounter into proof of human ingenuity and courage. In the following weeks, humanity's reputation spread further. Scientists sought their insights, leaders requested their counsel, and even the oldest civilizations began to recognize that humans were no longer minor players. They were a force defined by adaptability, courage, and intelligence, the very traits that had allowed them to survive against odds that would have destroyed others. And yet, humanity remained humble. They understood that the galaxy was vast, unpredictable, and filled with dangers they had yet to comprehend. But they also knew this: no matter the threat, no matter the challenge, humans had proven that they could rise, adapt, and survive. They had turned what began as a simple distress signal into a declaration of presence, a statement that humans were a species to be respected, studied, and remembered. Far beyond known space, the ancient entity drifted, no longer fully attacking but still aware of the humans' presence. It had learned something new, a species capable of confronting what no other species could, a species whose unpredictability made it both a challenge and a force unlike any other. Back at the outpost, Commander Jensen watched the stars, thinking of what had happened and what was yet to come. Humanity had survived storms, faced ancient threats, and proven themselves to the galaxy. Yet he knew this was only the beginning. The universe was vast, full of unknowns and full of challenges that would test them further. But Jensen had no doubt about one thing: humans would rise. They would adapt. They would survive. And in doing so, they would inspire awe, caution, and respect across the galaxy. The galaxy had been warned. Humanity was no longer just another species. They were a force defined not by weapons or numbers, but by courage, intelligence, and the unshakable ability to face the impossible and emerge stronger. And the universe would never forget it. For the humans of the outpost, and indeed for all humanity, the adventure was only beginning. The stars were calling, and they were ready to answer.